YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with our updated power rankings heading into Week 16 of the NFL season. Playoffs right around the corner. Cannot wait for our playoff content. We got you guys covered, so join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. You know the drill. Links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for. Twitter's a must follow. And we have our sponsors, GLD Shop, Liquid IV, code GOAT. Again, links down below. Let's get into those power rankings for heading into Week 16. Texans put up a good fight 2 weeks in a row. Cowboys and Chiefs, and bring the Chiefs to overtime, but still that one-win team, so they're going to remain at the bottom there. Colts blew a 33-point lead. They played pretty damn good in the first half, but you can't blow that lead. So they're down 2 spots to 31, so we see 2 AFC South teams at the bottom. The Bears put up a fight with the Eagles. Another game they couldn't put away, though. They're on a bit of a losing streak. They're remaining at 30-29. The Cardinals starting to go south. The injuries have been really piling up. Colt McCoy, they might have won if Colt McCoy stayed in, maybe. McSorley comes in, and it was pretty brutal. Losing to the Broncos, and they have their backup quarterback. That's got to be pretty brutal there. And there's the Broncos moving up 3 spots. They were at 31, so they're not sitting there, at the very bottom anymore or in that range. A little bit of a movement here, up to 28. Rams down 1 spot. Thought they would put up a little bit more of a fight against the Packers on Monday Night Football. First half, it kind of looked like it a little bit, but things didn't go well for them in the second half, obviously. A lot of penalties on them and bad interception by Baker late. They're down 1 spot. Falcons also down 1 spot. And then there's the Saints, who are up 3 spots to 25. The Saints took down the Falcons. Had a good lead on them, almost choked it away there. The Falcons had a decent opportunity at the end. A tough fumble by London pretty much ended the game there. 24, Buccaneers. Weird year for them. Obviously not looking too good recently. That's a game that they had. They had the Bengals, and they started turning it over rapid fire, and they let that one slip away, obviously. So they're down 1 spot to 24. Panthers down 4 spots. They were kind of rolling, but losing to the Steelers, and the Steelers really outplayed them too. It really wasn't as close as the score showed. The Steelers took the run game away from them. They pressured Darnold all game. And they moved the ball just enough offensively. So the Panthers down 4 spots to number 23. So you see the 2 teams kind of – I just realized it was 4 teams in a row from the NFC South. I just realized. I was going to say the 2 in a row. Panthers, Bucks, teams that are kind of battling for the NFC South. I'm thinking the Saints are kind of battling, and they're 25. And then the Falcons are last in the NFC South, and they're 26. That's pretty damn wild how that ended up there. 22, we got the Raiders. Wild win against the Patriots. Obviously, the way that ended, they completely outplayed the Patriots in the first half. Second half, they got outplayed. It probably should have lost the game in regulation. They ended up winning in regulation, so they're going to go up 2 spots, number 22. Patriots are down 6 spots, number 21. I know there's always the head-to-head crowd out there, which I'm still confused about because there was a lot more than just one game played this year, but that crowd probably thinks the Raiders should be out of the Patriots. Bottom line is, on the year, I think the Patriots have been better than the Raiders. The Raiders were a little fortunate in that game as well. The head-to-head, all I got to say for the head-to-head crowd is the Texans beat the Jaguars. Should I have the Texans ahead of the Jaguars because they beat them head-to-head? Absolutely not. So it's been a lot of games played. But the Patriots, they're going to go down a good amount of spots for that one because they played some very sloppy football, and I'm really not even talking about that last play. It's part of it, that last play, but just really sloppy football throughout this entire game. On both sides of the ball, really, mainly offense and special teams, but they're down 6 spots, number 21. Steelers up 1 spot to 20. That was a good win against the Panthers. Really good game plan. They went out there and executed its game. I do think they should win, even though the Panthers were favored. And, I just expected the Steelers to win that one. But they're up 1 spot to 20. Let's see if they can get back going again here. Seahawks down 2 spots, number 19. They were making their way up these rankings in the middle of the season. Now they're making their way down the rankings. Definitely been struggling recently. Ran into the 49ers, which is probably the worst matchup possible for the Seahawks. Anybody with a really good defense could give the Seahawks problems because they can slow down their high-powered offense, and then pretty much anybody can move the ball on the Seahawks defense. So that's the tough part there. So let's see if they can turn things around because the playoffs are kind of slipping away for them a little bit here when at one point it looked like they were going to make it for sure. So they're at 19. 18, the Packers. They played the Rams, but it was a pretty impressive outing last night on Monday Night Football. Really got going in the second half. They got after the quarterback. They made plays. Offensively, they moved the ball and made some plays as well. The running backs looked fantastic. It was good to see Romeo Doubs back out there as well. They're up 4 spots to 18. It's been a weird and rough year for the Packers, but maybe they're heading in the right direction right now. They got to win out. They need some help. They play the Dolphins on Christmas. That's a huge game. That is a huge game for the Packers. Not just because it's a must-win, but I look at, and they play the Vikings and the Lions after that. You know, out of the 3 teams, Dolphins, Vikings, Lions, I think most people will probably say the Vikings are the best team there. But I think the toughest matchup is the Dolphins. In Miami on Christmas, just the matchup in general. So if they beat the Dolphins and catch more momentum, I think those are winnable games at home against the Vikings and the Lions. So it's very interesting what's going on with the Packers right now. And can Rodgers do his thing, turn the season around here, as it's almost too late here. 17, the Browns beat a good Ravens team on Saturday. The defense of the Browns is getting better. It was very questionable earlier in the year, a lot worse than we thought. The run defense still looks pretty bad. We saw that against the Ravens, but it's getting better. They're holding teams to less points. They're getting pressure. They're better against the pass. So that was a good win there against the Ravens. They got to do better on offense, though. So they have to keep winning as well. But they're up 3 spots to number 17. Jets, a little bit of a losing streak. They're down 3 spots to 16. That was a very winnable game against the Lions. The defense played great, minus that 4th and 1 meltdown. But they tried to pull it off in the end. They finally got some offense going towards the end. But then couldn't quite pull it off. I'd like to think if Mike White played, they would have pulled it off, but that's just kind of an assumption there. So they're down 3 spots to number 16, a massive game for the Jets and the Jags, where they play each other on Thursday Night Football. Who would have thought that would be a great game we'd be looking forward to? Wow. 15, the Titans are on a bit of a losing streak as well. Very winnable game against the Chargers. The defense did their part. They held the Chargers. I know they let them get that field goal on that last drive, but overall in that game, they did their part. Derrick Henry did his part, but just didn't get the ball enough. A lot of pressure on Tannehill. He was playing obviously a little banged up. I was honestly surprised he came back in. Malik Willis was looking all right. Titans just need to get Derrick Henry the ball a little bit more, because that's where all their yards and points came from, and that's who the Chargers were having a difficult time stopping. So it was a winnable game for the Titans. Just pretty bad coaching offensively. But another loss for them. An absolutely must-win again. You got to beat the Texans this week. You have to beat the Texans, right? They have to get out of that slump that they're in. Commanders go down 4 spots to 14. The refs definitely weren't on their side, but they still didn't execute. They still got outplayed by the Giants at home on Sunday Night Football. A must-win game. That's a massive game for the playoffs. It's an absolutely massive game. You just got to find a way to outplay your opponent and win that game. I know there was some very questionable calls at the end, but still, didn't run the ball enough in the second half at all, which is a key against the Giants. But that's just unfortunate for Washington there, because that one, they both could make the playoffs, perhaps. But just being behind the Giants is pretty damn tough. So they're at 14. Jags are up 5 spots. They're playing some good ball lately. Minus that Lions game. They're playing some pretty damn good football. I know they gave up a lot of points to Cowboys. Cowboys high-powered offense. The Jags defense still makes plays, made big plays in this game to win the game, but the Jaguars offense has been on fire. They got to slow down with the turnovers a little bit, cut those down a little bit. They're a little sloppy with the ball sometimes, but so explosive on offense. I see new plays they're adding. They're calling different plays where teams just a little thrown off. Lawrence playing a lot better. Etienne's explosive playmaker. Those receivers are playing better than we expected, as well as Zay Jones, kind of the main one there. Ingram's been playing, mainly last week, but been playing very, very well lately too. They're up 5 spots to number 13. The Jaguars are number 13 in the power rankings. Wild. Giants up 4 spots to number 12. A massive win against the Commanders. Executed, outplayed them, had some big-time plays. The defensive front played incredible. Saquon was fantastic when he needed to be, and they get that massive win. That's such a big win in Washington on Sunday Night Football alone. Just saying that's a big win. But what's on the line with the playoffs? Now they're ahead of them, and they have the tiebreaker on them. It's just so huge. So They're up 4 spots to 12. Lions are going to stay put at 11. They continue to roll. Very impressive. They execute when they need to execute. That's the big thing there. It was a close game against the Jets. I was surprised that their offense was a little, I know the Jets defense is good, but Lions the offense was a little slow, but execute when they needed to do that. They might have been a little fortunate that Wilson played instead of Mike White, but Lions have been rolling. Very impressive. They're at 11. It's still crazy that the teams like the Lions are 11, the Giants are 12, the Jags are 13, even the Jets at 16. Pretty wild. Dolphins down 1 spot. Bit of a losing streak. They played pretty well against the Bills. It was a winnable game. So it was like positives, like you played a lot better than we thought against the Bills. You had yourself in position to win, which is kind of good, but that you didn't win is not great. But, still a good team. Tough to move them down any more than that. Feel like they've been better overall this year than the teams below them. But they got to turn it around. It's an absolute must-win against the Packers for both teams. On Christmas. Then the rest of the Christmas games are just god-awful, but that one ended up being a pretty good game, I think. Packers-Dolphins, early game on Christmas. Big time. Chargers are winning some football games. They're up 5 spots, number 9. Not the best outing offensively. The Titans were missing most of their defense, and there was only 4 starters out there, and Titans were able to create takeaways, and keep the Chargers to, they were at 7 points for most of this game, really. But the Chargers did clutch up when they needed to in the end. They played really good on defense. They couldn't really stop Derrick Henry. They were pretty fortunate that the Titans didn't keep going to Derrick Henry, but they did enough, and they are on a winning streak, and they're clutching up. We're used to them doing the opposite of kind of clutching up at the end of games, kind of choking games away. So that's a pretty good sign, kind of turning things around for the better. So they're up 5 spots, number 9. Bottom line is they're winning. A lot of these teams down here are losing, except for maybe like the Lions continue to win, and the Chargers been a better team overall this year, perhaps. It's probably pretty well. One's at 9, one's at 11, so pretty close. It's a tough one. You may think the Ravens are probably deserving of moving down, but there's really nowhere to move them. I think they've just been a better team than some of the teams below them against like the teams like the Dolphins been losing like crazy lately. So still feel like they've been better than the Chargers this year. They're also missing Lamar. Really don't make exceptions of the injuries because a lot of teams have injuries, but they have these bad losses that pop up, but it's just there's really no spot to move them down. That probably deserving, but that was the tricky part there. Cowboys down 3 spots to number 7. What I hate about the Cowboys right now is as playoffs are approaching, they're a little sus. They're a little sketchy right now. And why people don't trust the Cowboys is because, like, in the big games over the last how many years, you look at the playoffs, they don't really look like the same team as they did, when they looked really good during the regular season. Like last year, they number 1 scoring offense, and they I know they played the Niners defense, but they get to the playoffs, it's just nobody really looked right, And now that we approach playoff time, they were fortunate to beat the Texans last week, and then they really slip up against the Jags. The defense is nowhere near the same. I know they're injured, but a lot of teams are injured, and they kind of they've been choking. So it's just not looking great. The Cowboys, they've probably put together some of the most dominant performances this year, and they've looked like a Super Bowl team at times. But we're at that point of the year where it's like, can we trust this team? So that's really not great. They're still a very, very good team that can win on either side of the ball and win in many different ways, but that's tough. Massive game against the Eagles. It's not even going to be Jalen Hurts. It's going to be Gardner Minshew. The Eagles did get to play the Cowboys with their backup quarterback last time, so I guess we'll even it out here, but the Cowboys can't lose that game. Yeah, I mean, is it really going to matter in the long run? Maybe, most likely the Eagles are getting the 1 and the Cowboys are getting the 5 because they're in the same division. But to me, it's just, you got to go prove something out there mainly. But it's still, you still got to win to stay alive there. So, but they're at 7. Bengals up 1 spot to 6. They played not the best football for a portion of this game. Then they created turnovers. They may be a little fortunate the Buccaneers were making questionable decisions, whatever that punt was. But the Bengals kind of caught fire. They caught momentum because of that, and they really took off there in the second half. A lot of time they were starting with the ball in very good field position, but end up executing in the end and figuring things out there. Little slow start, though. I was surprised at the lack of offense early. Very surprised by that, but find a way to win. They're up 1 spot to 6. Another team that found a way to win is the Vikings. They were down 33-0. And that's obviously not good. They played very, very bad at that point of the game. But to be able to dig yourself out of the hole, everything's going against you and come back from a record 33 points, I guess kind of means something especially with that offense, how explosive it possibly could be. Not too many teams can do that. I mean, no team's done it in NFL history. So I guess that the first part is bad, really bad. The second part, it definitely means something there. They're going to go up one spot to number 5. I guess help from the Cowboys losing. Bills up one spot to 4, a massive win against the Dolphins. There was a portion towards the end of the game where it felt like they were going to lose. Like the Dolphins were outplaying them a little bit. And I do think it was the matter of the Dolphins giving the ball to Mostert a little bit more. They would have got Mostert a little bit more carries. I think the Dolphins would have won that game. But the Bills find a way. Snow starts coming down. They find a way to clutch up in the end. When they absolutely have to execute, they execute. Only thing here is we got to clean up that run defense a little bit. But fortunately, the Dolphins did not keep running it or running it on the 3rd and 1 situations. But it's a massive win. They lost to the Dolphins last time. It's a must-win game against the division rival there. It's a good team they played, in Saturday Night Football in the snow, and they figured it out. So they're up one spot to number 4. Number 3 is going to be the Chiefs still. They do go to overtime with the Texans. They did completely outplay the Texans, though, in that game, even before overtime and in overtime. It's tough you can't go to overtime with the Texans, but they did play some good football. They presented some good things out there, I suppose. They're going to stay put at 3. The Niners are going to stay put at 2 and looking really, really good. Looking like maybe the most complete team in football. Them are the Eagles. Defense is incredible. Offense does their job. They put away the Seahawks pretty early in that game, I thought, even though the score doesn't really show it. But Eagles remaining at 1. A little sloppy against the Bears. Hurts, a couple picks early, turned it up a notch, though, after that. But then injured. Now it's going to be Gardner Minshew this week, which that's a good backup to have, and it's still a winnable game against a beat-up Cowboys team. They're going to get Dallas Goedert back, the Eagles, that is. But still find a way to win. A little sloppy on that one, but there's definitely no reason to move them down from 1. So playoffs on the line. It's that time of the year. Playoffs on the line. Some teams choking. A lot of chokers last week. And a lot of teams clutching up, just finding ways to win when it matters most. Finding ways to execute when it matters most there. So it was a little wild. Maybe a little too wild last week. I just want some good football. This week I think we got all that out of the way, like the crazy moments. But I'm sure there's going to be more. It's just today's era, I guess. But that's going to wrap it up. For Week 16 Power Rankings. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. We're back every Tuesday morning with these. We have weekly picks Tuesday nights, score predictions Wednesday, a lot more, some off-season videos pumping out right now. Go to our channel, check out those videos, like, subscribe, to notifications on while you're there. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.